First. All right. Hello, everybody. So thank you for joining us. My name is Charlie Santo. Most of you know me. Many of you out there in the virtual audience maybe don't. I'm the chair of the Department of City and Regional Planning here at the University of Memphis. And as many of you know, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary of our program this year. And as part of that, we're having a year-long celebration, hosting a series of virtual and in-person events. And in a very special collaboration today, our presentation is being hosted by the FedEx Institute of Technology as part of their 901 AI Meetup series, which makes a lot of sense because today we're talking about AI as a tool to advance the work of city planners and urban designers. So welcome, and thank you for celebrating with us. Throughout our anniversary series, we've been highlighting the work of several alumni of the program, of our Master's in City and Regional Planning program, working with public sector leaders in Memphis and Oxford and Jackson and folks in nonprofit sectors, doing community development work and urban design work in places like Colorado and Chicago and New York. And so today we're going to get to think about the future of cities and the future of planning and how that intersects with technology. So I'm going to introduce our speaker, Sridhar Sunkara, who is the CEO of eBiz Solutions. He's a graduate of the U of M City and Regional Planning program in 1997. He also holds a certificate in design thinking and artificial intelligence from the MIT Sloan School of Management. Sridhar started his career in planning, working with the Downtown Memphis Commission for 15 years as a technologist with a planning background, but also helping to build technology platforms, then moved more into the technology space, running a firm that helps companies with digital transformation. And he now focuses heavily on helping companies leverage the power of AI in their business efficiencies and growth. So I'm excited to hear from Sridhar about how to leverage AI to enhance the practice of city planning and design. So I'm going to turn it over to Sridhar. We have the room until about 5 o'clock, so we'll have plenty of time for Q&A from our in-person audience as well as our guests online. And then for those of you who are with us, we have some hors d'oeuvres in the lobby afterwards for some more informal conversation for your Friday afternoon. So thanks for being here, and Sridhar, take it away.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. I'm very excited to be here. I've been back to my roots after probably 28, 29 years. And I'm very, very glad to see Dr. Reza Banai, who I worked, my first professor I worked for a long time. So thank you for coming, Dr. Reza Banai. And I've pivoted my career, right? So I started as an architect and then became a planner, city planner, but my passion was always computers. So I used to work on computers from when I was 6 and always looked at computers as a means to solve some problems. So it's a full circle back. I'm coming back to this. So today, I really want to talk about how does it really enhance the lives of planners. Right. Oh, I can't.
No, we're not seeing it all.
Oh, you're not seeing it. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I need to share my screen. I need to learn my technology. Let me go back and let's see that. You can see now, right?
Yes.
I also need to do another. I have notes another one, which this one doesn't work, so I'm just going to open. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right. So one of the great things about urban planners and city planners is we are the people that imagine how humanity needs to connect. and connect with the changing environment every day. Everything is changing around us, and the planner's role is to look at that information, understand that information, not about whatever has happened in the past, but what is going to happen in the future. And we want to change the world and change every community that leads to a better humanity. So I think this is the one of the best jobs. I know it's not the best paying job. I haven't seen anybody a billionaire and a city planner, but it's the best job that makes the billionaires strive, right? And thrive in this environment. But why did you all call me today? It's not that it's because of 2022, late 2022, everybody heard this word, Chat GPT. But AI was not beginning of Chat GPT. AI was like 40, 50 years ago, right? It's still going on. But the way Chat GPT brought AI, which is called generative AI, is what perked everybody's eyes. Oh, I can put something and get so much information I should have. It takes me weeks to learn this, but now I can get it in 2 seconds, right? That perked everybody's interest, right? So that was them, like we were used to see this things like this, right? So people, our companies failed, especially the education companies failed. People thought colleges will be gone. Nothing is going to go away, right? Everything is going to improve and it's going to be much, much better, right? So things that would change only for our better. But the change of things is very, very fast. That's why we are all worried, and that's why we feel it's a disruption. So look at the race to the million users. Any technology, they want that million users, right? Now we are looking at 100 million users. Look at TikTok, which everybody has, right? So most of the people have. It took 9 months for TikTok to hit that 100 million mark, right? With fast adoption. Think about ChatGPT. It took less than 2 months. I just put two there, but it was like 45 days or 50 days, right? So I just wanted to look good, right? So that is how fast ChatGPT took over because of the information and the value it provided to people, right? So that's why it was so fast. So where are we leading? What is we leading into? Where, as a planners, we talk about industrial revolution and all the other things. We are hitting to this human 5.0, right? That means we are part of a transformation as humanity, along with the transformation of technology. Now they're merging together, so everybody would have will become technologists, and probably we'll have a chip in our brain pretty soon, right? So to make all chat GPTs in our brain, we don't have to go and open up our phone or ask something, right? That is where we are. We are now in a place where we have to work together. If not, it's not going to be as good as we used to think, right? So a lot of people, when I go and talk, and some people say good old days. Good old days are never that good, right? We were comfortable. That's why we feel it's good. What's future, what is now, is because we don't know. Everybody is worried about change. Everybody's scared about change. I feel I'm a technologist, but when I see a new phone, I'm going to push back for a little bit of time to change, right? So it all happens to us. That's where we are. There is no good old days. There's always a good future, right? And the future is what we can shape, and especially as planners, this is what you can shape the future, right? So what I'm going to talk about is more, okay, how does as a planners, right? What is that you take information, or what you do in order to make the societies better? So we're going to talk about the things that you day to day, how we can leverage AI. So I'm not the only one that's telling this. These are the people that are talking about AI. And like with everybody predicts, the first $1 trillion company is going to be an AI company, right? So $1 trillion person is going to be somebody that's going to work with AI, right? So we all know that we cannot ignore it. We cannot escape it. So let's go and hit head on and try to make it to our advantage and use for our personal lives and also for our careers. So what is this transformation really about? Right? Like I said, it's about connecting together the technology and the machine and the human. How do we connect together and then move forward? Right. So, like I said, like AI is not like new. AI has been there. It's been an autopilot. How many of you use Google or Netflix or Amazon? Right. Everybody uses it. But if you all open up your homepage right now, it's different. everybody has a different set of preferences, different set of things that you get. Why is that? You never told it what it is. It understands it. There's a lot of AI algorithms that goes behind and gives you the movies you want, or shows you want, or the news you want, right? So it is learning. We always have this. But what now AI is doing is, now we can actually co-pilot it. We can create our own AI. We can design our AI. We don't need Netflix to tell us what to do. We want to tell what we want, how we need our information to do, right? So now we are actually in a good spot because we can control our AI. Before, we cannot control our AI. Right, so I'm going to give you a little bit because I also have a tech background, so I have to show off a little bit. So this is how a technology, when you look at AI, would look like, right? So machine learning is there. Under machine learning, there's a supervised, unsupervised. Which is supervised is there's a human in the loop to help the train the data, and unsupervised it's learning on its own, and as it sees the data, it will create. And within that is a deep learning, which is what gets closer to human thinking and human capabilities. Within that, you have a discriminative, and then you have generative. Discriminative is where we all used to see right now. We have emails that come in, and it tells whether it's a phishing email or whether it's junk. It just knows what yes or no. It's like more zeros and ones, right? So that's more discriminative. It will tell whether it's a dog or a cat, right? It's a bus or a car. That discriminator is very, very well trained to do only two things, yes or no kind of thing. But generative is where it learns everything, and then when you ask something, it actually creates from what it learned. That's like human. That's where we all love ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and all, because it creates. We ask something, and it learns everything. How it learns is what the LLMs are, large language models, right? So most of this know everything on internet. They read, they understood, they're vectorized, they're trained on it. And then they use the models, like which is ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or Perplexity or anyone. Then now they use those, and everybody has their own proprietary way of how they build their model. So that's what they generate new information. The information could be text, it could be videos, it could be audio, right? It could be images. So it creates multimodal tests. So you can ask, and it can create an image. So because of all this, right? So that's why I say like good old days never works now. In order for us to thrive or survive in the new thing, we got to see things differently, right? So we got to do things differently, and we got to deliver things differently, right? So now if you look at what we used to do with the Elo cab, or now we have an app on our phone, our Uber is right here, right? So the model of how businesses used to make money or used to thrive is changing, because Uber doesn't own a car, but it is the single largest company of all taxi companies in the world. They're much more valued, right? Their valuation is much higher than all taxi cab companies in the world, right? So same thing with Airbnb. If you look at all of those, so they don't really own a whole lot, but they're multi-billion dollar companies. So the way we need the customer needs are changing because of that. The customers don't want to wait for a second, right? Second is so much, right? Your cars wants to go in 1.1 second, 1.2 seconds. That's where they're trying to go. And if you want to type something in Google and you can't wait for 5 seconds, that's too long, right? Our needs have changed, the speeds and how we relate to each other. Before, if I had to talk to Dr. Reza, but I have to walk to his office, take permission. Now I text, right? Right. So the relationships are changing, how people want, and you go and you do customer service online, you do customer service with AI agents. We are building so many agents to our clients. Its agent is talking like human. That's better than like typing, right? So then how we offer, what is the value proposition are we trying to sell? Nobody wants to sell things. Everybody wants to lease, right? The SaaS models, that's where the valuation of the company. Every business wants to have a recurring revenue, not one-time sale, right? So those things are changing that way. And then because of technology, the capabilities of technology, and AI is going to be on top of it, that if you really utilize AI, you can change the world so much. And then our models, nobody wants to buy everybody wants to lease, right? So there's a different model that company needs to think to make money. Here, these are the companies that are really doing well, and most of the other companies use one of these companies' models, right? So you have OpenAI that started everything, Gemini with Google, which changes a lot of names, Claude, which is huge, and right now with a lot of things that we do, or Claude is one of the best. Their 3.7, their model, Grok, which is in Memphis, so we should be proud of Grok, which is I love XAI. And then Meta, we have Meta. How many of you use WhatsApp? If you open WhatsApp, there is a Meta. Now you can click on it, and I'll show you. In 1 second or 2 seconds, you can build images, you can ask questions, you can do just like ChatGPT you have on your WhatsApp right now. And Copilot, which is behind the scenes, is OpenAI for Microsoft. Perplexity, that's what I use day in. I don't use Google anymore. I use Perplexity to get everything. Right. So DeepSeek changed the world and made the market crash $2 trillion in a day. Right. So they're slowly picking up right now. And Midjourney is an awesome tool for building images, Hugging Face, stability data, and there are several, but I just mentioned a few of the things. Right? And the trends, because of this, people are starting, what can I do with this? And these are some of the list, right? So these are all the things that are changing every day, right? We can envision this, all of this type of our businesses will change because of this. By the way, all these images I did it in Midjourney, most of them. So I created them. So it takes like 10-20 minutes before a event. I just do it for that event. So how do we do right now? Like, what is our goal? We always have to think human plus AI. That is the only way we have to think, right? So our company, 100% everybody has to have an AI agent with them to do any part of their work. How can accelerate in city planning and urban design? So I'm going to show a few of the areas, and it's not the only things. This is only starting for you to think. It is not about just practice that. So one is increasing efficiency. How many of you want better efficiency in your work? Right? Everybody wants efficiency. Okay. So how do we automate repeat tasks? There's so much we do in a day to day that is same thing. Your opening an email is the same thing you do every day, right? That's an automated task that you can create with AI, right? Make AI write the answers that you don't want, like how you want. You can kickstart from there, right? And you have permits, right? You have to do permits. There's so many things that goes in a permitting in yours, right? Just step by step, you can automate the whole process, right? And there are AI powered agents for public inquiries, because we all want to really understand what the public is thinking of what we are doing, right? And it gets very difficult. We do surveys. I went to Orange Mound and some great places to go and do surveys, right? To when I was doing planning here. So now you don't have to. You just go in, whether North Memphis, South Memphis, in some other world, you can do it. You can have AI actually ask you and do the survey with you, right? So we can have AI powered agents. Agents are big things. So agents are more like people, right? Everybody's trained in a certain thing, right? I might be trained as a QA, quality assurance person. I'll create an AI for quality assurance, and I have another agent that does development, and those two agents talk to each other, just like we do right now, right? That's the agent, and I'm going to talk a little bit about agents, how the agentic framework is what's really going, right? So right now, New York has My City chatbot. They're doing the beta version. You can go and type and ask questions about city permits, and you can ask anything else outside of city permits and city planning. But they're pushing that. There has a beta version that they're doing, and then enhancing effectiveness. So we get so much bogged down into small, like about looking into data, looking in everything. We forget our imagination and we forget our creativity, and we're bogged down with the data that we have to do. Instead of that, how do we make all of those work for us? Use AI. Let it give the data in like seconds for what you want, and then you can ask again in few seconds. It will give you new data, right? So how do you do modeling, right? So it takes forever to build, right? Draw a model and think about it and draw, and then think. Then we got a new data input, and then that changes everything. Now we have time and money is how people pay us, right? We said, okay, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to leave this data point and I'm going to go and give this because I finished my budget. I can't go past my timeline, right? So we have to make money. So you go and give things that knowingly that there is something in not right in the plan we are sending. So this will help us. You can generate like 1,000 plans in 2 hours. You can sit down based on every data point you want to change and see, and then you can figure out what is the best thing you want to do, right? You could use the AI powered zoning, right? And this is the model how generally how it works. So, and once in a while, I'll throw in some technology things just to, again, like I just want to say I'm a technologist too. So this is how the models generally work. You input and then they use, you can, they put like AI, that is Claude, their model, their Sonnet 3.7, but you can use Chat GPT model there, or OpenAI, or some other Gemini or something. But every company are using their own. They're figuring out which model they really want to go with. And you compare with DeepSeek, and it's very, very, very cheap. And you compare, right? So people are changing their models based on the pricing and what they're trying to deliver. Again, this is something I inputted in Midjourney, and I got this. I thought it looks good. So again, like digital twins, how many of you have heard about digital twin? That's a big thing that's going on in planning and every other in healthcare. Digital twin is nothing but creating a twin of you in digital format. If it's a human, that means your whole human body is digitized. So your DNA and your height and everything. So we can actually do something to the digital to see the impact before I can put a medicine in your body. So that will change. That changes how we bring medicine to the world. Right now, Singapore is trying to do the whole Singapore, the city as a digital twin. And so they will digitize every piece of the city into digital. So they can make one change here and it will tell exactly how the wind is going to impact, the temperature is going to impact if you change one thing. So you're creating a twin of the city. You can do the twin of a apartment complex. You can do a twin of a community. That's the best part, right? So you don't have to really go and dig something and figure out it's not working, right? So again, it will help you in climate. It will help you in public transport, right? So if we now, when I remember when I was a student here, that's when the what's that shopping. The one in Cordova was just coming up. We did a traffic analysis of that, not knowing anything about it. Now today we don't have to do this, right? You can say, okay, if there are 500 cars going on this in 1 hour, let's throw in a AI and say what is the impact of it. It's going to give you in seconds. So we went there like weekends, like and counting the cars and seeing what it's going to do. So now you don't have to do it. You can be in the bed or you can be at a game and you can get your answers, right? So boosting creativity. This is most important thing. We all are humans. We are creative. We want to be creative, right? So, but we can't be creative because we have so much other stuff to do. We have to pull the data here. We have to look into this data, and we can't get creative because we have to do stuff that controls us. So, these two images are the ones I did it in Meta. Just I was just talking to somebody and just I just said, hey, can you give me a city with a 5 mile radius where I can walk, I have retail, and I have to have parks. And this is what it built in like 5 seconds. Right? But this gives us a imagination and creativity take beyond this. Right? This is just an initial draft. And think about it, how long it's going to take for you to draw a draft like this. Right now, you can have like 200 drafts before you can say, "Oh, really like this. I think this is aligns with my creativity." Right now, I'm going to do, and I gave like one line. I could have given it like one sentence, like two sentences or three sentences. It would have been much better than this. But I'm just saying the speed at which we can now be creative and innovative is so much. So this is what it can really help you and promoting public engagement and inclusivity, which is very, very important. Again, like the bots and public engagement tools, you can do a lot. There are a lot of public engagement tools, even without public knowing about it. So there are thousands of cameras around us. How many of us are using this camera data? We're not using the camera data. We can use so much of the camera data to give us how things are changing, how people are moving, how things are moving in a certain time of the day at a certain places that we could use while we are designing, right? So this is one of the project that was they're doing. So it's counting, helping us to understand the wind direction and the heat maps it's giving. And so we would really design differently, right? When we know if the wind and the heat and how everything works at a certain time of the year, certain day of the thing. And you can see that the one at bottom, like we probably would never have thought about a design like that, right? So with wind and solar melt on top of our homes. But that's the starting point to think. That's the imagination, that's the creativity that gives us, oh, this also can be done. So now let's think through the lens of new way. Because when I went to MIT and doing my AI, and I'm finishing up the last day, we were putting all the data, and the generative AI was there. That was in 2018. It created a car. The data we give from the car is from a lot of sensors from different terrains that the car was driven in the data. It has designed a chassis I would never, as a human, would have never thought about it. So it gives us new ways that we haven't really thought through, right? So, and again, like you can see how much information we can gather today in real time. It's not like coming once in a year or once in a month. In real time, that we can drive the data and make our choices based on the data. Again, this is what I was talking about. So these are all the new technologies that we could use. That FireSat is what Google and a few other people just released, like sent through SpaceX, new satellites that's going to work on the fire, right, where the forest fires are, so they can work on that. Imagine you have access to that data. What you can do while you are building and you are trying to plan a community, and you can use that data. I think this will do. So this is how the data comes. And you have seen in Memphis, there are a lot of this white cameras, white boxes with the cameras, right? So there's so much data that goes. We work with that company. We collect so much data is collected in that. You can make decisions with that data, right? So this, if you think about when you are trying to create a plan, an urban plan, if you have a data like that, how much you can really change the way you design, right? So we imagine, right? With imagination, the creativity comes where you're connecting the dots. Connecting the dot comes from information we have. What information you want? You want traffic, what other information you want? Historic information, you want political information, right? So all of this is important for us, but now we let AI do that part of it, and we'll just be creative and imagine. And here is the real estate development, and you can see a lot of things that happens in real estate can be just done with touch of a button and let somebody else. The AI does it, and then you just come into the loop once in a while to make sure that it's doing what you're supposed to do, and you learn from it. You learn so much from AI. So I put this for people to understand how AI really works, right? So when we go into companies, everybody that's sitting in a company, when I talk about AI, everybody has a different perspective about AI, right? Some people will be thinking about the first version, which is the acquire version, right? So that means you don't have to put any money. You're not thinking, you're not doing anything. It's a chat GPT and Claude. You just put the money, $20, and you get it. You don't have any control on anything, right? On that. Only your control is your prompt. And then you get into the embed mode, which is you take their APIs and you create your own shell on top of it. Really, you're not really controlling anything, but you're rebranding somebody else's product. And then you go into the expand. As you go, as you come towards the right, is where you are going to differentiate yourself and your product with everybody else, or your company with everybody else. That is where the money is, right? So you build your application layer and you create your own data, because one of the things about these models are they're not updating every day, right? So, but you want to take that model, but also you want to put your own data that changes daily, in minutes, in hours. If you are a big e-commerce, your transactions are happening every minute, every second. You want to have your own data separately on top of this, and then you have your own prompt engineering, so that you don't want to user to type in a lot of things and you just put some prompts. That's where you can expand. That's where a lot of that's where you really see the real value of you, your differentiation is going to start there, and then it advances from there. But you're still vectorization and then fine tuning foundation models are still company, the brand owns it, the vendor, and then you go to the advanced where only the model, the foundation model, whether you're going to take GPT or Claude or something, everything else you manage. That's where the biggest bang for the buck is for you, and that's where you differentiate yourself from anybody else, right? And then construct is you're going to build your own model and do it, which is if you have $1 billion, you can start there. That's so we are not there. A lot of companies are not there yet. So this advance is where we can really utilize. And the construct is companies like pharmaceutical companies and all, they build this models so that they can bring a lot of drugs in the market very, very fast. They create digital twins and they bring it. So here are some of the platforms, and I don't know how many of you have used any of these platforms when I'm doing the research. There's so many platforms, does many, many things. I would encourage you all to at least start using some of them and just try and use chat GPTs and all. They're very, very, very good at giving a lot of good insights that you have never thought of, right? Claude would be good, Gemini, and how many of you have used Notebook LM? Right, so that's it saves so much time. You can push all the sources you want and then just ask, and so you don't have to read all the sources, right? So like again, like we all want very quick information, and they do very best in giving that information. So there's so many tools that you can use, and these are some of the ones I've seen in the top 10 on many searches I made to Perplexity, and everything gave this, so they must be good. Right, so try. The only way you can be good at something is by trying, right? So that's what when we do sports, in your mind you know how to play basketball. When you go there, then you know how bad you are, right? So when you start trying and playing, then it slowly becomes good, and then you like and love. So first thing is you have to have a love for the game you're in. You're in a game where you're changing humanity, you're changing communities, you're designing communities. You have to have that passion. And so any tool that's thrown at you is just a tool, but your passion never changes, right? So use these tools and make sure you can create a lot more of this, right? And there's so many tools that are coming every day. These are the two sites. They will update every day. There's a new tool, and you can say which area of tool, and they'll show you a tool. And most of the tool, the underlying model will be one of those ones I showed you, whether it's a GPT or Claude or one of them. But they're very tuned to a specific thing. So you can just tune it to. You can look for something that whichever area you're looking, you can go and go and look for them. And there's a cool tool. While I was doing this, I generally write, and I write on my phone. And when I walk, when I talk, I write. So I've seen there's now a very good tool called napkin.ai. And you're putting your thoughts, and it's creating like actually very, very cool graphics of your thoughts. So that could be now one of my favorite thing to because when I cannot still type. When I'm talking to somebody, I cannot type. I have to write. Only writing helps me to think, right? So, but my kids, they don't. They type the thing, but it's a different way of right. Everybody's changing how they do. So these are all the tools. How do you start, right? So AI is not a strategy. Don't think AI is a strategy. AI is a tool. You need to have a strategy first. Within your strategy, pick the problems you're trying to solve. AI is not going to solve your problem. You have to pick what problem you want to solve. And when you want to solve a problem, you want to first understand what is the workflow. For example, you take, okay, if it's an e-commerce, okay, what is the workflow of e-commerce from somebody trying to buy to somebody getting it to the door? Now, write all steps that happens between those, right? And you don't want to pick all the steps to make a change. You pick the ones that are easier. We call it a quick win and see how it impacts. And then you start, right? And the biggest challenge is data, right? So what AI has done to companies is exposed three areas. One, how bad people's data is. They think they have a lot of money, they have a lot of data, they really don't have data. There are a lot of bad data is there. So AI cannot really work with bad data. You get bad data, you get bad results, right? And the other thing is their IT systems, IT itself. We have the biggest pushback we get when we go into companies is from the IT, right? So, and the third is people, the resistance of people to change. So those are the three big things. It's nothing about AI, nothing about technology. These are the three things you have to worry about. So when you want to embark on this journey, what knowledge we have, what data we have, that we are very proud of today and making choices. When you go back and see that's not that much data. So you got to improve that data. But also this will allow you to not only fix that, but now you can say, okay, even if I don't have data, I want to start. Now I know where my gaps are. I'm going to start slowly filling it rather than trying to go in 2 years and build my data and come back. Then you're already gone. The business is gone. It's a speed right now, right? And then pick one of the AI stack. You might like Grok, you might like Claude, you might like OpenAI. Pick one stack so that you can use that and run experiment. Only run experiment. When I say experiment, it has to be so small that it should be fast, it should help you the proof of concept. So how many of you heard like solve for the monkey first analogy? So the whole thing is you want to make a monkey to recite a poem and then it's standing on a pedestal. Don't focus on the pedestal. Focus on can the monkey actually recite? If it does, then build a gold pedestal or a diamond pedestal. Nobody cares at that point. You're solving that problem first, right? So think about what is the most complex and important critical thing you want to solve and then try to put as much effort into that and solve it. If it solves, then go and create anything that's related around it, right? So run experiment. Most importantly, train users. A lot of companies don't train properly, right? So I have a CEO that she like I have a lot of mentors. She told me I always struggle with people. She said like train, right? And you have to train first. Either you train, tolerate, or terminate. The three T's is what I follow right now. Train, train, train. Tolerate for some time, if not terminate. So that's the thing. Today we have given an ultimatum to our company end of last year. If you don't use AI, you are out. And we got out at least 15% of our team because they didn't want to use AI. So I want to create somebody knows that this is the cultural shift of companies. We got to use AI. So you got to train, then you scale, then get the feedback and continuously keep doing this. So that's how you want. And I put like a few things from if you're doing a small urban planning process, this is it's a process at a high level, right? So you want to look at the exploratory phase. We work with some engineering companies, so I now know some of those after my planning days. Feasibility, formal planning, design, implementation, operational phase. You know how much of that AI can do today? How much of percentage of each one of those? It can be 80% of this could be automated and used by AI. So your role would be 20%, which is 100% today. That means you get 80% of the time to be very creative and think about new things. So that's the beauty about AI. And this is how you break, like you break the steps, think about who is doing that step and what is the goal of that step you're doing. What are the pains or opportunity I can create in that step? This is step by step, very, very detailed you want to go. What tools are being used today? Right? What are the related tasks I want to do in order to get that task done? Right? How often I do this? How long it takes for me? How efficient I am? If you write all of those, this is like a customer value mapping. You value a customer to take them to the journey. Some of them call customer journey mapping or customer value chain. You do that. And then you provide, okay, which problem I want to solve here, which task which step is very important. And then see, is there a problem I can fix through, whether it's AI or automation or optimization of your flows. I talked about agents, right? I just want to tell what agents are. Agents are like people, right? When you are given a task, you're not just directly getting out of your head and giving the task. You're doing multiple things. So that's what agent is going to do. It's going to do multiple things based on what agent it is, and then it's going to give a task output. This is a single agent. An agentic framework is like this. There's multiple agents work together. It's just like us. When we do a teamwork, everybody has their own areas of their strength. They're working together to give a better outcome, right? So this is the future now. Everybody is building their own agentic frameworks to build different agents. A sales agent, it could be a development agent, a marketing agent, but they all talk to each other autonomously. So we don't have to. In our case, we set our meetings, so they meet themselves at their own time. Right? So this is the future of our workforce. Everybody will have AI, and every company will have multiple types of ways. It's not all full-time employees, it's not all part-time, it's not all vendors, interns. All of them should be involved now because they all bring value. And the biggest value I see people bring to my company are interns because they don't worry about getting a job or anything. And they have very nice ideas because they're not thinking about anything else and they come up with very beautiful ideas, right? So, and consultants are good because they bring, like, we are in a day to day, we work so much and not think getting things done. They bring new ideas, new softwares, right? New tools and introduce to us. So, and part time are good because some people like part time and it's up and down. Your companies are always going up and down in terms of resources you need. So all of this is our future workforce. What are the new skills for you? You need to understand everybody has to have some kind of AI training. You got to go understand. Are we good on time? Okay. So we need to think about data. Data is a key. When I say data, it's not databases, it's knowledge, right? Where is the knowledge? It could be in news, it could be in PDFs, it could be your old pattern language. How many of you had read pattern language or the image of the city by Kevin Lynch, right? So now you can make your AI agent read it, understand it, keep it ready, and then you ask a question. Hey, use image of the city, Kevin Lynch, and give me this, solve this problem using the nodes and districts and all. It will solve for you. Right? You train what knowledge you want to train, and then you become you use it for your own sake. So you need to understand in digital twin. I will encourage everybody to go and see what it is and really go focus on that, right? And the smart infrastructure and IoT, like, so these are all new things. In addition to your planning career, you need to have some knowledge on those, and that's where when you have a next job, these are the questions people will ask. I would not hire anybody that doesn't have any knowledge in AI today, right? So because it's waste of everybody's time, right? So and most important thing, you have to think about ethics because all these models are trained. Who trains them? We train them, and we know we all have biases, right? We need to think about that bias and that ethics. What is good here is not good. What is right here is not right somewhere else. So you can't put this template on somebody else. So you need to understand the ethics. You need to understand the rules and regulations. So you need to be very, very cognizant of why are we using, what biases could we could have on those, right? And cross disciplinary, which is important. I have a team of a lot of a development team, and they get mad at me because I have a creative and I'm also a developer, right? I have a computer engineering background, so I can talk design and I can talk coding very quickly. I can change my mind very fast, right? So, but it's very good because you think both ways, and if you have team that are in cross disciplinary. I'm an architect, city planner, but I'm also a computer engineer, right? So having those kind of disciplines always good. The biggest one that people don't teach today is psychology. We all at the end of the day work for humans, right? And we don't understand humans. That's our problem, right? So the first thing on board when we onboard anybody in our company is they have to. I created a 40-page psychology book, reading like about 50, 60 psychologist book. I created into 40 pages so people can read about understanding humans before they take the job. And so we also are to think about, okay, what is human psychology? Because everything you build, everything you do, right? Humans will not, everybody will not accept it, right? You might design, you might think it's great from your perspective, and you have all the data that will tell that's a good design, but there'll be somebody that doesn't like it. That you need to understand how are they coming up with it, and they have their own reasons for it. So we have to understand what is it we are building, why we are building this. So, like I said, the most important skill is imagination. That's the only thing that's lacking to us today. Very few people imagine. Very few people want to think, right? And there is also within thinking there are several mental models that you can allow us to think, which is systems thinking, first principles thinking, second order thinking, right? Inversion. So there are so many models that when you have an understanding of those models, when you're talking, you will, in your mind, you are thinking, it asked all the questions, right? And then you'll say, okay, I didn't ask questions that will relate to this. I did not break down the problem I have, right? I did not understand once I solved what is the impact of that. Well, like for example, like if I go and automate everybody's company, I think when I go and talk to the CEOs when we do the discoveries, this is going to get probably 30% of your workforce out because we can do all of this and 40% doesn't need to be there. Do you have a plan for it? What is your plan? Right. So we need to think about that plan. I'm giving like very extreme case, but in anything, if you think there's something, if you fix something, there's a new data point that you get. Oh, that data point could allow me to build bigger business. I can sell that data to do that, or I can use the data to build something. So you need to think about that's the second order thinking. So you need to have this kind of all the mental models in your mind that would help allow you to be much more better at what you're doing. Right? We don't have time for it because we are buried with trying to research on Google and everything, trying to put together, read all of those things together, right? Critical thinking, like I talked about, like biases and then collaboration. You have to collaborate with your AI partner. And when I say collaboration, not just with people, I use my I have all of them I paid because I run out of tokens. Because I think so much and I start using Chat GPT, then I'll jump to Claude and ask the same thing in Claude, then I go to Perplexity. Just want to understand, right? So we want to understand from different angles. And these models have different ways to think. They think differently. So you just go and say, okay, if I'm thinking like this, what would you say? And the way you want to deal with models is you don't want the answer. You want it to question you. The answer for anything lies in the question. If you ask the best question, you get the best answer. So in order to get a better question, use those systems to give you a better question. Then you create your own good question and ask, and you have an answer right there. Answers are always ready because we don't ask the right question, we never get the right answer. And like I said, these are the three areas. You have to be very cautious. Again, this is the butterfly I did. This is my own, right? So if you build anything in Midjourney, that becomes your own art. So that's my own art, digital transformation. So the three areas you have to be very cautious when you want to do your transformations, especially using AI, is data and knowledge gaps. There are so much data and knowledge gaps in companies, IT gaps in your company, and people resistance. And they have recently done research, and most of the big companies, the IT people say we got about 35 to 40 platforms or technologies that we use. You know how many they really have? Can anybody guess how many they use? 650 to 700. This is called shadow IT. IT doesn't know that they have somebody's using another because they don't like what they're using. So they bring their own device, they have their own chat GPT they're using, and their own department will use their. And we have seen, we always go when we'll ask the IT, give me your like all the softwares you use, we get like 15, 20 on a 200 to $500 million company. And then when we get from all the employees, we do the survey, we get like hundreds. They don't know. They don't have control, which is dangerous in one way. But it also says that what the company is providing doesn't train people well because they have spent money, millions of dollars in paying their licenses, but still people don't use it. People are still finding a way to be better. So that's very important. So you want to see in your companies what's happening behind the scenes. And again, like there's no slowing down. Like you got to move fast. It's about speed right now. It's everything is about speed. I don't know how many people have been to the Grok, like our OpenAI here in Memphis, the XAI. Have you ever been anybody been or have met anybody there? So I had like conversations. I read about Elon Musk, not on politics side, but on his in real genius side. I love his thinking. But the guy that runs this, I talked to him and I just came out of that talking to him and I said, like, my life is a waste. Because this guy said about speed. Speed is all they care about. And they do speed, they do work, it's so fast that it really puts all of us to shame. I try to work like 14, 15 hours a day and I love it. It's not like because I have to work, I want to work that way. But I feel like, okay, I'm not doing it right. I'm not right, using the right tools for my 15, 16 hours a day. because that's what we all are right now. In order to win the game, you got to be speed is the only way you win the game. And in order to be speed and be good, you have to have an AI because it can really speed up. What you can do in one day, if you really use AI, it will do in like probably 20 minutes if you plan it properly. So I think there's still a lot of people like this. I go into rooms and talk how many people are using AI. There are so many people that still lift their hands. I'm like, are you serious? They don't. So we know what's going to happen. Like, so there might some people will still survive for some days, and then suddenly they'll be hit with a 20-year-old out of his garage will build a business that's going to compete with them in fraction of a second. Right. So it's a lot of opportunities will be gone. And today, when we go into any company, people ask, are you using AI? That's the first question we get. If we say no, we're out. Right. So we got to, everybody has to do it. So at the end, a good person and a good AI is superior versus any one of them. There is no greatest person and there's no greatest computer, right? So we got to take both the worlds and do it. So that's about it. So any questions? I hope this 40 minutes is worth it, your time. So how do I take questions?
So just a couple of things. One of the things is about when you're doing machine learning, you have an accuracy rating, right? So are we 68% accurate on our model or 98%? What are we doing for AI to determine that the information that they're sending us is actually, getting back is actually valid? I have not seen any kind of metrics being given on, oh yes, Grok is 75% accurate most of the time. So like, how are we going to get to that point where we can actually measure so we're not getting hallucinations? And if I'm not an expert on the data that's coming back, I would have no idea that that was correct or not.
That's a very good question because that's why we never lose our jobs. We always have to have a domain expert. Because I have ChatGPT, I'm not a doctor today because I can kill myself, right? So the goal of AI is for the domain experts to be better, not for somebody else to take your job, right? And only you can tell the accuracy. And so when we do our work, we also put an accuracy counter. So the person will say, hey, this is 60% accurate. And we'll ask and we'll get the feedback is what is missing in this? Right. So when we work with doctors too, that's the same thing we ask, right? Okay, they'll say, hey, this is 80%, but I need to know what the 20% is to make the machine learn about the 20%. So that's why I cannot remove the doctor and I'll become a doctor today. Right. So the domain expertise will never go away. That is, and again, not only domain expertise, our human imagination can never be replaced with the AI. Our imagination is what we're giving, but you are domain expert in that. When you see in machine learning, you'll say that is where the supervised learning comes in, right? You're supervising some of it until you feel, oh, this is now at 80% or 90%. And then what else needs to be done? And that could be the unsupervised learning.
I just think that some people have already jumped ahead and think this is great. This is great data. Bring it back. This is great. But have you actually vetted the data every single time? You don't want people building rockets, right? It's like,
blowing up.
right, almost. So that's what I was kind of curious about. And then the other one is, I haven't really looked into this a lot, but I know that there's now going to be they're working on some ISO standards for AI.
I mean, it's still out there. And the only thing, right, my worry in setting standards too is US is already lagging in AI. China is beating us up. So let's go and create, and then we'll create guardrails later on. Otherwise, we'll kill the imagination, we'll kill the creativity. And I agree, we need to have, right? But we have to be careful about it. Who are we competing with? And India, China, they're all like very fast in developing all this. So we want to stay ahead, and most of the time regulations will slow us down.
And I think it goes back to the ethics as well as what policies we need. Because again, if you have too many policies, you do kill innovation and you're dead in the water. But at the same time, if you don't have policies, it gets to become the wild, wild west.
I totally agree with that. So I'll tell you on regulation space. So when we had our last class at MIT, and one of the things was about ethics. And here is the problem. We all know the trolley problem, right? It's similar to trolley problem. They said, okay, I'm going to have a self-driving car. It's going to drive on its own. And then suddenly there is a woman that walks the road. And on the right side, there's a big tree, and you hit, and you will die inside. On the left, there is a bridge you can jump, and maybe if you know swimming. What do you want the car to do? Every country has a different answer. Every country. And you know the country that really wants to save only the person in the car is United States. A lot of Scandinavian countries said, okay, hit the tree. Or some of them said, go in the water, I'll try my chances. They wanted to, but in US, you know why they said they're okay with killing the person? Because it's justified. You can go to the court of law and justify that because they are the one that did wrong. I did not do anything wrong, right? But if you're a human sitting in that car and driving, every human has a different way to think about it. Somebody will say, oh, immediately they'll turn right, right? Or somebody will go left, right? So there's a very discrepancy in what is right and what is wrong, right? So that's why it becomes so difficult. And then people will start fighting about it, and then we'll lose the innovation. By the time we come to an agreement, some other countries are all gone, like they're in the space with AI, and we are sitting here, okay, we still need to figure this out, and we go to Supreme Court with that, right? So we got to be careful of what we ask because we are supposed to be the country of most innovative country. We still are, but we are being stopped by all of this other things. So we got to. That's my opinion. This is not like this thing, but that's my opinion because I feel like today we are missing on a lot of innovation.
So I teach business machine learning at the College of Business. So I'll be interested to hear, based on your experience in the workforce, what's some AI related skills that you think students should really focus on to be competitive currently in the job market?
So machine learning is a must, I feel, because you need to understand how do you manage and analyze data and make it easy, right? And machine learning is one of the best ways. And using the machine learning, see, skill is one thing, and then imagination is another thing. Imagination will bring the creativity, which uses your skills to connect the dots. That is what the planners are good at. You connect all the dots. You connect a climate dot to people, cultural dot, and transportation dot, right? And the topography dot. So you are people that can connect all the dots together. But knowing more, and especially in the areas of AI with machine learning and everything, you can quickly do something because before, when I was in technology, people used to come for me to ask in the Excel and all. Whoever can write a good macros in Excel are kings. Today, you can just ask in GPT and it will give all the answers. But understanding those, right? So definitely machine learning is one thing, but I would recommend people to actually learn English, which I hate today because when I was growing up, even with my kids, I don't care much about language. I said it's a science. Science and math, be good at it. Every day I look at their only science and math grades. I don't look at their English or anything. Today, if you're good at prompt, you're good at programming. You're good at asking a question, but if you ask, if you need to be very, very articulate in how you have to ask, right? And then everything else revolves it, like understanding your human psychology and articulating everything together is. But machine learning is like something I would think today it's a stable that you have to, it's a staple thing that you have to learn.
Earlier, you mentioned about how AI could optimize, the planning workflow and how, potentially up to like 80% of that work could be automated. Do you see AI impacting the city planning industry? And if so, how would do you have any advice on to stay on top and to stay in the forefront of that and not be, caught up in that optimization?
Yeah. So impacting of AI is not just city planners, it's everybody, even me. I wake up every day worried. Right? So every day, I'm not joking. I worry every day, and like the first thing I look at phone, what new model has come up, right? That can take my ideas and my job away. The way you have to see is it's not about how your job is eliminated, but how your job is actually enhanced with this. Your job cannot be eliminated until you want it to be eliminated. right? So that means you're a planner, you know how to do a lot of things. What AI, I mean, like it can also imagine do it, but again, like you said, you need to be a domain expert to be. But what it removes is all of those, like for example, if you want to develop in downtown, for example, like a land use case, if you want to do, most of your time is spent on like what is the building, like what is the traffic patterns, all of it. Once you know all this, then you will come up with your ideas. But that is what I'm saying. All of that can be automated now, right? Your agent will be trained to connect the data, assessment data, right? The traffic data, right? And also data that from public works, how many times it has been repaired, right? So now you get so much data, and then you have data from weather to all of that will help you to get you can make decision faster, but also add your creativity on top of it. Because I always want to think this is happening because now, as a humans, now we are completely redesigning ourselves. That is how I wake up every day, rather than worrying about it. But it is going to impact everybody. Everybody, it's going to impact.
Sridhar, oh my God.
Okay, I'll turn my mic on. I've got a question from someone online. How should planners justify the energy use of AI, and stress it will put on energy demand and carbon emissions when planners are already struggling to implement community resilience for environmental stresses from climate change?
Yeah, I'm not an expert in that too, but I can give my opinion about it. We got to see the end goal, right? At the end, I think it is going to offset. It is not a zero-sum game, but it is going to offset the energies that it is using. And one of the examples I'll give is XAI. There are so many people that went and did protests about the environmental. But if you go and look at it and see how they built it, they're actually saving our energy. They're saving our water, right? And again, like half information is very difficult. So I'm like always I'm worried, but I think there is innovation happening that's going to actually reduce it. What is happening today, you can't reduce it. But what innovation can do is reduce. And in meanwhile, yet it will take some energy to build the GPUs. It takes energy to do some of the things. But in the long run, we're going to win on the energy. But again, I'm not the expert, so don't take my word. It's my opinion.
So do you see AI in the role of creating smart cities, like the 15-minute city where you can go from point A to point B and everything is kind of meshed together? I mean, we've been talking about city planning and urban design based on the traditional, I think, and how we can use AI to make the process better. But I'm talking about actually using AI to create these smart cities.
Yeah, definitely. That would be a very, very good use of AI, right? So for example, how we imagine is based on all the data inputs we take. When let's say we want to extend, we want to create another bridge here, right? What do we want to need to know about a bridge, right? So we want to see what is happening with the water levels, what is happening with the traffic at what times, right? What times of the year, and how is our climate, and what material is being used. So all the data is available. You push the data and say, hey, create something, it will create something that we don't know. We haven't seen a bridge like that because it understands the engineering. You train the knowledge for that, and then it does. I think that is the best use of AI. Is something that we are stuck with our imagination is based on our experiences, right? Our exposure to it, right? But AI has a better exposure. It learns from a lot more than us, right? So it's like going if I'm going to a city planner today. I'm going to the city planner and I look at there from MIT or Harvard or University of Memphis somewhere. But if I go into an agent, it's been trained by thousands and thousands of city planners. I'm going to an expert of experts, right? I get a lot more value out of it, right? And if you are a planner now, you want to use that to your advantage. Now you become because you learn a lot more. I learn more with ChatGPT than it learns from me, right? So that it's about imagination, and it can imagine better based on a good data video. And that's why I said the data is key here. How many of you today actually use AI in your school or office work? What kind of work do you all use for?
The thing that I'm working sometimes for the initiatives of data or the way of the thinking, because sometimes we can get our framework of doing something, and we know that because AI maybe something is in general, we can give it, but if we can show that what the specific thing that we want, maybe we can save our times and we can get the prompt. And I have a question. This is a question specifically that it was on a slide that he showed that, for example, as a full-time AI can work as an intern and everything. But I think that you mentioned that AI is a tool that for city planners, specifically, because our program is like something with communicating or engaging that people is also we want to communicate with each other. So I think that the thing that people can do, especially in planning process, it's that the thing that you said that, for example, collecting data, analyze the data, or for example, modeling or something like that. What's your opinion about that?
And let me just clarify on this. I'm saying that all of those people need to have a AI attached to it.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying just replace them. But to answer your question, collecting the data, analyzing the data, I think the machines are better than us, right? But we have to give them the guide. Where is the data, right? We have to point the data. That's where, like, even if you use Perplexity, for example, you point the data and you can ask the questions. So they can be much faster and easier and better. And so we are not constrained by time, because you might give an intern to collect all the data and it will take them a week, but you can sit or you can give the same intern and here is all the data sources, go and get me answers. In 1 week they can do much better job than what they will do in one week without giving them the tools.
Using the AIs, what should we keep in mind for the privacy of data?
Yeah, I mean, the privacy of data is something that is debatable, definitely, right? So when it creates this, it's not like it's creating somebody else's, and picking so many, and that's the area where now I think the artists and the creative people are and even the copyright. So that's the area I think it should improve, and somebody should get the recognition. But what I'm thinking will happen is all these authors or creators and all, they will go and work for some companies. And their data will not be allowed in. For example, it could be like just like Netflix and Amazon Prime. Some people will go and give their rights to only Netflix. So that artwork and all, you then the whole goal for us would be got to buy all of those. So we have to spend money in Claude, we have to spend money in GPT. That is where it is going to go from a copyright perspective. But that's a great question. You said you're working. How do you work?
Well, I was working for the school project one day, so I gave my ideas to that and just wanted to know that my ideas is anyone's did it or not previously. So that I just wanted to have some reference. It just popped up, and I just read those references. So it's really helping me a lot.
That's good.
Saves my a lot of time.
What about you?
I use it for cleaning my data, especially when I'm working with big data. I don't need to spend a lot of time for cleaning it, so AI, help me for it. And I also use AI for know how different variables work together, how they can impact each other. And for prediction, especially, how can I, for example, predict traffic based on different variables? So it helps me a lot.
That's good. Yeah, that's the areas where it really helps us, right? So today,
So I have a question because all the examples that are being given, especially with what you've also shared, it looks like AI is based on data that can be collected.
yeah,
As planners, sometimes we work with a lot of data that seems intangible and very difficult to measure. And that also informs the decisions, our creativity and imaginations that we put forward and creates all the spaces and ideas that help create cities that are survivable, that we can thrive in. How do we account for such authenticity, right? When some of these data points cannot be measured and
Yeah, so the one you're talking is about more data, quantitative data, right? But it's qualitative data can also learn. You can teach like 10 psychology books, and using that psychology, it can give the information based on that human behavior. So you can also use that. I mean, how many of you know about the Enneagram? And Enneagram is a personality test. It's called Enneagram. Just like your predictive index or MBTI or DISC and so. You have to do an Enneagram. It's pretty cool, actually. It tells the type of person. So I did an AI speech like this to an organization that does mentoring. So and they were talking about communication and communicating through your personality. So is that. So your personality test, you take a test. And so the way I communicate, I'm like straightforward, especially to my, what's it?
What type are you? What type of person?
I'm 3 and 2. Yeah, so I'm on the thing. So that means I'm very direct. All right. So and before this lady that was talking there, and she was doing the first one, and I was supposed to do after 3 weeks using that into AI. So she asked me to write a letter. I wrote, "Hey, you're not able to make to your friend's wedding and to the bachelor's party, but you are the one that's supposed to do all this work." And she asked me to write a letter, and then we all wrote. And and then she said, "Go and do this, and it will tell which enneagram you are." And then she didn't ask us about it. And then she asked us to read letter, and she said, "You are 3." And I opened and it is 3. It's as if somebody magician is doing. So you know that the way you communicate is the other people how they take it. That's what I learned from there. This other person with a different, let's say you are a 7 or a 9, the way I communicate with you, I feel like it's right, but you take it in a different way. Now I know if you're a 9, now I know how do I give the same communication to you in a different act, right? So it's a pretty good. And then I use the AI to say, I'm writing this to my team that has 7 and 3 and 4, and tell me this harsh message. How should I write it? So it will mellow down based on that. But somebody that's not that, if somebody is sending me all this nice message, I don't read. I wanted direct information. I look for direct information. And I tell anybody that spends more time with me, don't write big emails because I'm not going to read. And if it has a copy to somebody, I'm totally ignoring it. Because I need right away, I need what I need, then I'll go and read if I want to have. So all my communication, I use pyramid principle, which is I tell what's important, and then if they want more, what about it, then they can go down and look at it. So everybody has a different communication style. So and that's a very, very good effective use of AI, especially as planners. If you have to go and make sure that your city council members are you are listening, you know who they are and listen to them, put their voices in the AI and ask it, hey, tell what kind of person this is. And I want to actually send a message to this person. It will create a very good communication style for it. You can use that. And that's what Copilot uses. When you get an email, I use Copilot to how do I respond to it, and then I'll make the changes, but it tells me the tone I need to use. Anybody else have any question?
I'll ask a question. So most of the images in these slides you created with AI.
Yeah.
So the guy at the end that was in his comfort zone, not using AI, why did AI draw him to look so happy and peaceful?
Hey, he's in a retirement mode. No, I agree on it. So I also in weekends I wake up earlier than weekdays. In weekdays I wake up at 5 or 6, and weekends I wake up at 5, and I physically read books. I don't want to be distracted. I don't take my phone, anything. I just go to a window where I built a small desk near the window. I sit and read because before my wife wakes up and asks me all these chores, and then my son wakes up and does this. I want my time. No screen time. And probably he's doing the same thing. So suddenly, like sometimes you miss your phone and you drive and you feel, oh my God, I got so much of my life back. Right? So miss you leave your phone, but unfortunately I can't leave my phone. I drive a Tesla. I can't go without a phone. And I'm worried about it right now to park anywhere. So, but if you look at car companies, especially somebody like Tesla and all, you can see the all the innovation that happens in the car in a weekly basis. It's getting closer and closer to self-driving. And when I use it, I every time I love it, but I'm never going to give it to drive full. But it's very close. We are very close to where we don't need. Again, as a urban designers, you need to think about the time from 5 to 10 years from now, they will be self-driving cars. And really nobody needs our cars, right? We don't need garages at that point of time, right? We will not have that much traffic on the roads because the same car can do multiple things. So we don't have that much traffic. The whole cities will change in 10 years. How do we plan? Because we don't need that much of transport anymore. Think about that. That would be all your imagination for the weekend. How do we design roads without people you having cars? And that is what I think is going to happen in the next 10 years, especially in the Western countries that has infrastructure and it's easy to implement those.
That depends on whether those are shared cars or individually owned.
Yeah, I mean, I think there still people wants to own some of them, but if people don't want to own a car, you don't have to own a car. Why do you want to pay all that? Probably you'll own one car and the rest of it you'll just travel in one car. Because most of the time your car is sitting in the parking lot. Right, you go at 8 o'clock at work, 1 hour or 10-20 minutes and sit, and then 5:30, 6 o'clock, you go back and it's not paying anything. At least now it will pay money. It will give you, like, you can use it. That's what Elon Musk put it on his task. You can rent your car when it's sitting, and you can use that app, and the self-driving car will go and pick up, and then it pays. So it pays for your car. Right, so that's going to happen, right? So you can, just like Uber, just like Airbnb, this is going to be a car BNB. That is how we have to, that's what AI makes us think. Just like when that is a question that somebody needs to get. And always use AI, where you go back home and use AI not for answers, ask for questions. That is where it will help you more than answers. The questions is what will really. Questions will give us a way to think beyond what we are capable of thinking. Because if somebody doesn't ask you a question, you are not thinking, right? So if somebody is not asking a great question, you're not thinking better, right? If you want to have a better thought process, you need to have a better somebody pushing your boundaries of your thinking. And AI is very good at pushing the boundaries.
I recently published a paper about the title, the community, it's the neighborhood impact of community urbanization, the impact of neighborhood unit on community revitalization. The neighborhood unit, the famous quarter mile radius, that's been there for a long time. You know, if you take all the elements apart, school, the park, and all the elements and so on, you know, each one of them have a separate impact that are used to revitalize the neighborhood. So ChatGPT was the only way that I could resort to put all of this vast amount of information together in a holistic way. So, but the reviewers still were skeptical about the use of ChatGPT. They said there are, you have to convince them that, you still have to, review scholarly works, scholarly literature that indicate that not all the ChatGPT generated results are correct.
Yeah.
So, up until the time that I did that, the reviewers would not be happy about, what I was doing. But even after that, I realized that I still did something more than ChatGPT to put all the results together. Guess who I had to go to? Some theoretician or urban designer who thinks holistically, Kevin Lynch, who was talking about, the theory of good city form.
Yeah.
A normative theory that has all those 5 dimensions, that you could use. But the lesson there was that from the theory is that in order to know what is good, you have to have site-specific information.
Yeah.
So in other words, you cannot trust all that data that you get in a deductive mode.
Yeah,
You still have to be inductive.
yeah.
You still have to be local and specific. So the theory kind of, saves the way to arrive at the conclusion of something that was looking at universal knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, like again, like we are just looking at a very, very tip of the iceberg of where the models are. Think about this is good for us. And think about it, they're only going to get better, right? So and like agents are one way, right? So you just talked about Kevin Lynch's book, so frameworks, right? So you help train some of the agents with the frameworks. And then you put your information there and create through that framework, help me understand how when I put this paper together, it would give a better result. So that's coming, right? It's still there. Everything is still on. AI is like probably like a 6-month-old baby right now. It's got a lot of way to grow, right? And then what we feed is how it's going to grow.
Image that you focus about the 15 minutes taking, so you made it with AI. So what about that the softwares that we use as an architects and planners like SketchUp, City Engine, or like GIS? Can we use AI as a plugin to that? Those softwares, can we use it?
Yeah, I mean, so most of the softwares today, they are coming in with the plugins with AI itself. Most of them, like today, you can't sell a product or you can't sell a service or you can't sell anything without AI. So if you look at all the products, like for example, Autodesk, I was looking at Autodesk and ESRI's, their product, ArcGIS, they already plugged in a lot of the AI tools in their generative AI tools. So you might want to just check in, but you can use that information and plug it into another tool and you can use them. I mean, this is the battle right now. They're like, if you look every day morning, there are like 5, 10 different AI companies coming out. So next 5 years, it's going to be battle of all those companies, and then the big companies that have billions of dollars will swallow them, and then you will be back again like Oracle, Google, Microsoft, Apple. You'll have 10 companies that have swallowed all these companies. And that's where everything will go through them. And those will be one of those $100 billion companies or something they'll become. But I mean, like today, it's easy for somebody to write software, somebody that doesn't know software. And a lot of graphic designers, right? So, and people get so frustrated with graphic designers, right? You think about something, they will come up with something, you go and ask them again. Now you can sit and write, and Claude will give you a beautiful, app design, right? And then there is specific just for those that uses Claude behind the scenes, but you don't even need to know all this intricate details of design. But you go and just ask like a human being, like just, hey, this is what I want left side this, I want this, it will give. But that also, I tell my people, they'll say, oh, I can design this, and oh, it's not coming the way I said. That means your communication is even bad with your UX designer. Right? Why are you expecting something good when you are not able to do on your own and the system is not giving you? So you need to change your communication. How do you clarify your needs? So this is where it is humbling us that we need to be better communicators. Yes. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope you learned something. Especially this is a Friday evening. Want to shut down the.
Yeah.